So I know this is a month old for those of you who have not seen this interview with JD Vance. This is the reason why I think JD Vance could and should potentially run for president in 2028 because the way he handled this was very pleasant. I think that he is a very polished individual when especially when it comes down to the female voters, right? Because he was strong and stern with what's her name is Danielle, Danny, I can't remember her exact name, but we'll get to it. He was very stern with her.
Dana, I think.
Yeah, he was stern with her, but he wasn't overbearing,
Hmm.
right? He held her foot to the fire. He submitted in some places to accommodate her and her viewers, and I really like that. So without further ado, let's get into this conversation.
Doing this.
Yeah,
Appreciate it, Senator.
thank
So
you.
within a week of you being named on the BP ticket, the Democratic nominee changed. And you guys seem to be struggling a little bit with how to approach the new dynamic. How are you approaching your new opponent and the new ticket?
Yeah, well, I think it's pretty straightforward, actually. We're running against a set of policies that I think have failed the American people, and we're running to a set of policies, President Trump's 4 years in office, that I think really succeeded for the American people. And I think that what's different about it, and you're right, Dana, it is different, but what's different about it is that we're running against a different person. A lot of Americans just don't know. And so I think we have to remind people that President Trump delivered lower prices, lower inflation, a prosperous and peaceful world, and also a secure border. And Kamala Harris's policies have produced the exact opposite. Now, that was an easier case to make when Joe Biden was in there because people associate Joe Biden with the policies. But I think Kamala Harris clearly owns the policies of the Biden-Harris administration, especially when we consider the fact that, as we've all learned over the last few months, Joe Biden clearly isn't capable of doing the job. And so I think that drives home that Kamala Harris really has been the one calling the shots. I mean, how could she not? I think Joe Biden doesn't really know where he is.
Now, right there, that right there is why a lot of voters are disgruntled when it comes down to Kamala, right?
Hmm.
Because we already see that the cognitive function of Joe Biden was it was just diminishing every single time he got in front of the stage. Every time he got in front of us, he was falling all over the place, and it was quite clear that he was not there. Now, a
Hmm.
lot of people say that it's not Kamala who's running the country. A lot of people think it's Obama running the country. Now, I don't
Hmm.
know how
Oh my.
true that may be, but either way, the one that needs to be taking responsibility right now is the vice president, because it is clear that the president, the sitting president right now, is not able to perform the duties as president. What you think?
Right. Yeah, that was interesting when you said a lot of people think that it's Obama
Hmm.
that's running the presidency. Yeah, I'm not one to call out names and all of these type of things as far as like derogatory comments
Hmm.
and stuff like that. Clearly, the current president Biden is going through some issues, some health challenges, etc. And so that is what the vice president is there for, to step in if in
Hmm.
fact something is going on and the president is incapacitated and unable to fulfill their duty.
Right.
When it comes to the belief, it was something else you said. You said that President Biden, oh, he's clearly not able to. Even recently I was watching, even though this interview was about a month old, it's a good one.
Hmm.
I was reading some commentary recently about, and this was just this week, on the anniversary, the 23rd anniversary of 9/11,
Right.
and I read and saw some news headlines that President Biden, Harris, former President Donald Trump, and um, VP candidate here, what's his name, Vance, JD Vance,
Hmm.
all joined together and they went to the 9/11 Trade Center site,
Hmm.
and it was mentioned by one of the wives of one of the fallen. I think he was a sergeant. He was a fire chief,
Hmm.
and he lost his life in 9/11, and unfortunately, and the wife said that Biden made a flippant remark, saying, when, because we all, are very clear, we understand, and we talk about it all the time, that Trump could use some help in PR, which is why we are very appreciative of Vance and his life.
Oh yeah.
But we can't just go past and just ignore what was said. What he said, it was insensitive, is what the wife said.
Hmm.
Um, there were those that were asking Biden what were his plans, and he went into saying what he's doing basically on his schedule. And, we're doing this, we're going here, and then we're doing 9/11. And she said, doing 9/11 as if it's just some arbitrary thing on your agenda, just a part of your schedule. Okay, fine, but you could have some more respect for the people and those that are still, as she said, and many said, relive this horrific day. Years later, 23 years later, we lived in New Jersey at the time. We were in New Jersey, and you could see the smoke coming all the way over from
Oh
Weehawken into
yeah.
New Jersey. It
Yeah.
was a horrible, horrible, terrifying time for many that were on ground zeros, many that were in the buildings. It was just a terrible occurrence. And so for the sitting president, who people really haven't heard much from, to come out on a day of memory and a memorial for such a horrific time in this country, to be so inconsiderate, so insensitive, shows a lot, because it was that comment, and now he's responding to different commentary and allegations when it comes to the debate from Harris and Trump and all of that. But meanwhile, there are people that are still suffering right now. And where the heck are you,
Yeah.
President Biden? And then when you show your face, this is what you say.
Yeah.
So no, I do not believe that he's capable of sitting in the seat of power. And I'm not saying that Harris is either,
Right.
but I just wanted to point that out. The commentary here, and we're going to see throughout this interview here, the, what is this called, like the commentary on the
Oh
bottom,
yeah.
these quotes, the
The
CNN
headlines and stuff
headlines.
like that.
If y'all just watch,
Yeah, they're
I'm
nuts.
so over that.
Yeah,
That
they're
is
nuts.
just, it's foul.
But here's the thing: we got to look at it the way that most people don't see it, right?
Yes.
As content creators, unfortunately and possibly fortunately, headlines,
Man, that airplane sounds low.
thumbnails, it does, doesn't it? It
Jeez.
did sound pretty
Whoa,
low.
that sounds low.
Headlines, thumbnails, titles, those are the things that get people to click. Yes.
Mhm.
So if you want to get people to click, the one thing that mainstream media learned very, very well is fear increases click through.
Wow.
If you can inject an emotional response with a person, yeah, that sounds crazy.
Jeez. It sounds like more than one airplane is going overhead.
Well, there is a base.
I know there's a
not too
base not
far
here,
around
not
here,
far from
but
here, but gracious.
hopefully that's just no big deal.
Good God.
This boy, but
Right?
we have to understand that like, okay, so one of my biggest frustrations when it comes down to this is that I do not like to fear bait. I don't like to
No,
fear
we
click.
don't want to
I don't
fearmonger
want to do
people.
that. I
Yeah.
want to give people the option to make their own decision
Right.
if they want to watch my videos or not.
Mhm.
However, that does hinder your ability to actually get the view that you need,
Mhm.
right? So you do have to find a comfortable balance between getting someone in excited to click on your video, as well as give them what they want in the video as well, right? So it's got to be a good balance.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing wrong with
Balance
clickbait
is
if
everything.
you deliver, right?
Right.
But when you use headlines the way they did,
Oh.
it's because, see, what you're doing is you're painting a picture of what Vance is saying, right?
Right.
So you're saying, oh, okay, Trump said, they're eating cats, you know what I'm saying? Which is being shown throughout Twitter, or should I say X, that there are many people coming out saying we may not have video footage of it happening, but they're saying, yes, our pets are disappearing. Yes, there is a clear indication that Haitians are doing a lot of stuff that's really
They're
affecting
trying to snuff
us.
it and make the story die,
And
but
they want the story to die. They don't want people to see it. This is the
what's
problem
really
with
going on.
mainstream. And this is the reason why so many people cannot stand utilizing these places, but they have the platform that we don't have. They have to. So yes, I have a problem with the headlines just like everybody else, but I understand why they use these tactics. It gets views, right? It gets views. So you got to have some sound bites and stuff like that, but it does paint people in a negative picture.
Yeah, and that's their whole objective.
Now we do the same thing on the other side, right? Only thing is we have a reason to,
right?
Right? Because it's like, did you hear what she did? Did you hear what she said? Do you know about this? Did you know about that? Because a lot of people are making ill-informed decisions
And
based
Trump
off
said
of
they're eating the dogs, actually.
eating the dogs. I'm saying cats because that's what I saw. I saw a Haitian.
Yeah, because I'm trying to make that one go away. Apparently, that woman wasn't Haitian, et cetera, et cetera. But
Oh, no,
they
no, no, I'm
are
not talking
taking
about that
the
one.
ducks, cutting the heads off.
That's what they're saying.
And people are saying that they're going hunting, and even people here, we don't have a hunter's license, we get in trouble, but they can just go around and start hunting in the park and taking the ducks and people's cats and abducting animals.
But that they don't know any better,
right? And that was the issue coming over here with their.
They don't know any better. They're not well informed. They're running it. They're doing a lot of mischief things because they don't know any better. Yes. So I get where a lot of people are coming from. Like, this is a problem for us. But as time goes on, I'm pretty sure that'll start getting ironed out.
I hope so.
But as of right now, this is a huge problem because they don't belong here. They didn't go through the proper channels to
that's
be
the
here.
issue. They didn't. The Venezuelans did. None of the migrants
They did not
None
go
of them
through the proper channels, and this is the reason why so many legal citizens, who are secondary citizens,
and they
here,
have their visa.
They are pissed,
and I would be too,
because they still have family members that still can't come through because they're trying to go through the righteous way. And now you just flood the country with 20 million people.
It's so wrong,
and it's like, wow. So yes, there's a lot of things going on, but let's continue because that has nothing to do with this video.
Kamala Harris has been calling the shots. As who?
Well, I think she has to have been, right? Because if she's not calling the shots, Dana, then who is? And I do think it drives home something that's fundamentally dishonest about the way that Vice President Harris and also a lot of senior Democrats have approached this. If you remember, for months, even years, the argument was that Joe Biden was sharp. He could clearly do the job. And the minute that he performed poorly in that debate and he became political dead weight, you have Kamala Harris and everybody else trying to throw him overboard. But I think the more troubling question is, why did so many senior Democrats, including the vice president, cover for him? And if Joe Biden wasn't capable of doing the job, as even a lot of Democrats say now, was Kamala Harris in charge or was somebody else in charge? And that's a real issue.
There's no evidence that Kamala Harris threw him overboard, but I want to move on to.
Oh, there we go.
There
See. This is exactly what happened during the debate. All right, you immediately go and try to stop what he's saying and dismiss what he said. There's no real evidence that they threw him overboard. What are you talking about? They said they took him out of the presidential debate. I mean, race.
Yes.
They claim that. Okay, so they say he stepped down. All right. So how many of you were able to witness a manager or a superior have the ability to step down without being penalized? Right? Okay, I'm going to allow you to resign.
Right.
But if you don't resign, we're going to fire you. That's what happened here.
Yes.
So stop with the word salad crap. We're not foolish. We're not stupid. We know why Joe Biden stepped down. All right. We know. Hey, you're not equipped for this, guy. So you can bow out gracefully, or we're going to sit you down.
Yes.
With authority.
Yes.
But this is what you're doing now. Again, she's right. We don't have any real evidence that they pushed him to the side. We don't have, but come on, man. Like, we're not fools here.
Yeah.
He did terribly during that debate.
Yes, he did.
He did a horrible job. And because of that, they're like, well, we got to put somebody else in. And that's what they did. And that's how they pushed Kamala in. And here's what pisses me off the most about the left. Nobody is coming up and saying, wait a minute, I didn't vote for her.
I didn't ask for her to
I
come
did
up here.
not want her to, like, if you haven't noticed, the fact that she's the vice president is a surprise to me.
Right.
Because how can Biden endorse her when everybody else have to go through a certain channel? But this is how we running our country right now.
Yes.
It's not good for the goose. It's good for the gander, but it's not good for the goose. Okay,
no
you
pun.
know what I'm saying? You can't they deserve the right to a good life. Yes, through the proper channels.
Right.
All right.
There's a process.
There's a process, and it seems like the left is just dismissing, ignoring process and procedure
and protocol.
And protocol. They're not listening to it.
I really don't think they care enough.
Of course not. They just want to win.
Yeah, I don't think they care enough at all. There's facts. I mean, it's just so blatant here, and I just don't think they care enough.
They don't care enough. No.
Something that Governor Walz has called you and Donald Trump, and that is weird.
Sure.
And it is taken off. The New York Times reports that when Donald Trump was asked about it, he said, "Not me, they're talking about JD."
Well, certainly they've levied that charge against me more than anybody else, but I think that it drives home how they're trying to distract from their own policy failures. I mean, look, this is fundamentally schoolyard bully stuff. They can accuse me of whatever they want to accuse me of. As Harry S. Truman once said, if you can't take the heat, stay out of the kitchen. And I'm doing this because I think that me being vice president will help improve people's lives. So I accept their attacks, but I think that it is a little bit of projection, Dana. If you think about just take a couple of days ago, Tim Walz gives this big speech. He's been announced as the VP nominee. And I remember when I had just been announced as the VP nominee, I gave my big speech and I saw my wife and I gave her a big hug and a kiss because I love my wife. And I think that's what a normal person does. Tim Walz gave his wife a nice, firm Midwestern handshake and then tried to sort of awkwardly correct for it. So I think that what it is two people, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, who aren't comfortable in their own skin because they aren't comfortable with their policy positions for the American people. And so they're name calling instead of actually telling the American people how they're going to make their lives better. I think that's weird, Dana, but look, they can call me whatever they want to.
You're saying Tim Walz doesn't have affection for his wife? I don't even understand that.
See how she
now, where did he say that?
You see that? You see how she switched it around?
Where did he say that?
Here they go.
He is saying, as a married man, I think it's weird that he shook his wife's hand.
That's all he said.
Okay, you're calling me weird, but that's weird. And I'm going to be real with you. It's weird, but it's only weird if you don't know how men like that operate. I happen to, I don't want to say I have an inside track because that's not true. I don't have an inside track, but I've experienced men that are in relationships because they are literally business transactions. Okay. They're in, and I'm not saying this is what Tim Walz is in. I'm not saying that. Believe me when I say I'm not saying that. However, I have experienced men that are in sexless marriages. Where sex only happens on special occasions, right? And for the most part, they're together for financial purposes. Again, I am not saying this is what's going on with Tim Walz and his family. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is this. It's a possibility that Tim Walz does not have the same type of relationship that I have with my wife, right? So I don't know why he decided to shake his wife's hand as opposed to giving her a nice kiss on the cheek or a hug or whatever. I don't know why that was. It's not really my concern. That's between him and his wife. But what I am saying is That is, in fact, weird to me.
And that's what JD was saying. Well, they're saying these things. Well, I think it's weird for you to come up on stage and shake her hand. So if you're that awkward in
Mhm.
your interaction with your spouse in
Mhm.
public, how are you in private?
Right.
And also, and I'm going to make this comment because I did see it also. It shows a lot about the person. You just watch body language.
Yeah.
People just saw like kind of glazed over it and saw the whole video of there was another one. So I think it was after this interview where Vance later on, like he said, later on tried to fix it, and then she touched him on his face, and it was this whole emotional moment.
Mhm.
And you know, they fixed it
Mhm.
for PR, right? They fixed it for the camera,
Mhm.
and then hugged her husband and kissed him and blah blah blah, and then brought the son and who's a special needs young man, brought him in. And but there's been video footage of exactly what he did. He yanked his son's hand.
He did.
Yes, I've seen footage of it. I've seen slow still footage of it. He yanked his hand and then he pulled him over. Now, regardless of the fact that he's special needs, I'm privy to that. I've seen various techniques and special needs and all of that kind of stuff. You can say what you want, but you're in public. You chose to bring your family, your whole family on stage,
Mhm.
and that's what he did.
Right.
So for me, you just like Harris, and I've witnessed it. You can act as much as you try to want to act, you know, and the Emmy goes too.
Right.
But those that are watching, I see you. I see what you're doing.
I see what type of person you are, and
Yeah.
I'm looking at this based off of what you are doing,
Mhm.
not what like I'm watching you do this. I'm
Right.
watching how you're maneuvering. I'm watching how you're moving. All this stuff, body language speak a lot louder than words in
Yes.
many cases.
Yes, many
So
cases.
I need to be clear when I say this. Your way of handling your wife, your family, it's weird to me.
Mhm.
And this is why. Now, granted, I understand frustration. I understand irritation. I understand bad times. I understand all that. Trust me, I'm a man. I've gone through it. All
Mhm.
right. There was times where furniture moved in his house because I was pissed. There was times where I made the dumb mistake of saying the wrong thing and I paid for it dearly. I am perfectly clear that we're not perfect. But you know you're about to be on camera.
Mhm.
Right? You know you're about to be on camera.
Yeah.
You know you're in front of thousands and thousands and thousands of potential voters.
Yep.
So why would you move like that? Well, I guess it's because that's the type of voter you're going for, because that's the type of individual you are. You're representing that type of voter. So I get that. But for me and mine, that's weird.
It's weird. That's all he said. And then here goes Dana. Well, and she
So
switched
you're
it around.
saying he's not affectionate? Are you saying
Did you
this?
hear
Are
me
you
say
saying
that?
this? No, I'm not saying that he's not affectionate. I'm saying that was weird.
That's what I'm saying.
You want to call so here's the thing, Dana. You bring up a place of what I guess a soundbite that Walls came out with that seemed to do very well on the left.
Mhm.
About being called weird by Tim Walz. Yes, you brought that up. So I'm countering that with my version of weird.
Right.
And now you're saying, wait a minute. So you're saying he doesn't have any affection for his wife, because that's what people are going to listen to.
Mhm.
And I'm an asshole. I'm like, yeah. But that's why I'm not running for VP. That's why I'm
Right.
not running for president. 'Cause
Right.
I will say, oh, absolutely, that's weird.
Uh-huh.
It seems like they have a sexless marriage.
It seems like it's a front, but that's just a whole
Because it
nother
seems
story.
like it's a front. It seems like it's a sexless marriage. It seems like he gets a lot of massages,
Oh my.
but he pays for those massages.
Mm.
If you get my drift, because I've met men like this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not like I don't know that men like this exist. I've met men like this who are very proud of their accomplishments. They're very proud of doing their job as a man because they're happy that they're in a relationship. They're happy they're in a partnership. They're happy that they're in, and those relationships flourish. I'm not saying they don't. They flourish, but they flourish on a level that is weird to me.
Right. And like JD said, normal couple, a
Right.
normal marriage would do this. What was that?
Right.
Yeah, for the rest of us, it was weird.
It's weird. And you can't take that away from me. I know how so I know when a woman is mad at her husband. Oh
Just
boy.
watch. Just
He,
watch
oh
them.
boy. Oh boy. Do you see it? See that? That's a fake laugh right there. That's a fake laugh.
You
It's
done
fake.
People watching for years.
Like, oh boy. I remember it was times where I sit there and I be listening to the pastor preach and stuff like that. And
Not our pastor.
not our current
But over the
pastor.
years.
Over the years,
Yeah,
I'll see a
we
pastor
see all kinds of
and
stuff.
see how they interact with their spouse, and you see that quick little moment in time that nobody was supposed to see. And I look at my wife, she look at me like, ooh, somebody in the doghouse. Ooh, what you do, you know what I'm saying? So but you
get that right before you get up there.
yeah, but that's because we have a relationship with our spouses, right? I see things differently because I'm a married man, and I do
Right.
my best to, accommodate my wife in the best way I know how, because again, I am a man, I do manly things. So my wife, she does womanly things. And there are times where the man can see that the man is pissed with his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And she's trying to get in good graces with her wife. And I mean, his wife is her husband. And you see those things and you be like, okay, I see that dynamic. And then you can also say that's a healthy relationship.
Right.
Because even though they're frustrated with each other or angry with each other, they're still working it out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I didn't get that sense. I didn't get that fuzzy feeling with Wall's family.
Not at all.
I got a photo op,
right?
And that's what I see.
Mm-hmm.
So the same thing goes with the Clintons. The same thing goes with with Obama and Michelle. I see photo ops. I don't see a knit family. I see this is what we supposed to do so we can keep the women vote happy and all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't see this passion for their relationship. Not saying they don't have it. They just might be, that's just how they are. But that's weird.
That's all he was saying.
That's all I'm saying. It's weird because I smack my wife on the butt all the time.
Yes, you do.
All the time. I'll walk by.
I like it.
Yeah. See, hey, look, she could be cooking. You know what I'm saying? Oh God, don't let me come in the kitchen and she bending down trying to get something. Pow!
Moving on.
Yes, if you know what I'm saying, like you get into those moments. I remember watching Bishop Warren and Dr. Medina, and they was doing some type of conference or something like that, and they had the bed on the stage and stuff like that.
Talking about the marriage bed is undefiled,
right?
Holiness in your marriage,
and you can see Dr. Medina saying, boy, stop. You can't be doing it. And he got stuck in the row like
in the moment. He was tipping her into the bed.
Yeah. And she looking at you like, will you let me get up? There's men here that are struggling with their flesh. You don't want to give that mentality. You don't want to give that vision, that image. Stop. And then, and then fast forward, you see her come off of a retreat or some type of vacation.
She went to preach in she was on a ministry. She went to go to Kenya.
Yeah.
And she just had, I think she posted something like she just got off a 20-hour flight and they have ministry, they have business, they have a lot going on. So their schedules are super busy. But yes, he came to the airport. And he came to the airport and she was so happy to see him. She jumped on him, wrapped both legs around him. Yeah. And you look at this woman of God that's like, I mean, she come with the fire. Yeah. And she like, hey, boo. Yeah. And it's like, now that is a healthy relationship. Like, look y'all with this camera. I don't care.
Look at the difference between that relationship and Tim Walsh's relationship.
Weird.
It's weird.
That's all.
So that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that they don't have a healthy relationship. I'm just saying they might have a healthy relationship in their personal relationship. That's how they move.
That's what they do.
But I'm used to the hey boo.
Right.
I'm used to the jump on me. Like, I haven't seen my baby. Oh my God, you're gonna take me shot. Where we going? You know what I'm saying?
Hey, honey.
I am not Dr. Nothing right now.
Right.
I'm your wife right now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the type of relationship that I'm used to. And again, I'm gonna say this for the last time for those of you who are watching this video, trying to look into the lives of a not liberal, not progressive family. Those things that Vance is talking about are very, suspect to people like
Yes.
us.
Yes, it's
It's
very
just
telling.
what it is, especially when we've seen so many arguments between the couples. I mean, oh my God, I've seen business fights. I've seen so many of them. I remember when we was delivering a machine. Oh my God.
Oh,
We was delivering a machine.
y'all, we have always been working. We
Yes.
always, and Gary's always wanted me to work with him. We were doing that job. I know exactly.
Yeah. So we went to this, and this is not to like go off on Indians or anything like that. It's just
No.
that this was an
It
Indian.
just happened to be an
It
Indian
just
family.
happened to be an Indian family, and we was delivering a cotton candy machine.
Yeah.
And we walked in, and the guy, he's all business-like, and he's
Uh-huh.
got the earpiece and the tie, and he's doing everything he has
For
to
the little
do.
girl's birthday
And
party.
he's here trying to make the best deal possible. And we walk in, and the wife is like, she's frantic trying to keep everything together and stuff like that.
Hosting a
So
party.
she comes to me and she start talking to me in a way that seems like I'm supposed to be manning the machine.
Right.
Because we did do that. We manned the machine as well. So sometimes we just deliver the machine, drop off the machine, and sometimes we are paid to man the machine. So she said, so I'm walking around trying to find somebody to teach them how to work the machine.
Right.
And she's like, but you're going to be here, right? And I'm like, no. And like, so I'm sitting here trying to talk to the husband,
Right.
and the husband is saying, put it here.
Uh-huh.
So it's in a very highly trafficked area.
Yeah.
And
it was a bad place.
It was a very horrible place to put that. It was,
doing?
It's where you're turning the corner, you're going up the steps, and then this is where he's putting it in. And she's like, ear, you want to put it ear? This is where you want to put it ear.
Yeah.
And he's on the phone trying to do business stuff, and I'm sitting here looking at him. He's just trying to get me out of his hair.
Yes.
Right. So, and she's like, ear, this is where you want to put it, ear.
Yeah.
And then
so mad
where everybody's gonna walk. This is where you want to put it.
Uh-huh.
So so he's just trying to survive, right? So she tells me, I want you to put it here. So I put it in the place that I'm supposed to put it. And I'm sitting here trying to find somebody to say, hey, how are we going to? So I need to show people how to use the machine. Who's going to be manning the machine? Who's going to be handling the machine? And she's looking at me like, you. And I said, no, I don't think so. So I look at the order, and it's just a drop-off order.
I said, that is not your package, honey.
And I'm not supposed. This is not the package. And so he calls my boss at the time, and I'm sitting here like, uh-oh. I'm looking at her, and she was like,
his face drop too.
She was like, so you're supposed to be you, because she was trying to get him.
Yep.
Because he's too busy trying to save money.
Uh-huh.
He's too busy trying to make a deal. He's too busy trying to get the cheapest price he possibly can. Yep. So when he went down to the cheapest price that he possibly can, because he's also trying to get this out of his hair, the negotiation that he had with my boss was to not have somebody to man the machine, because that would have been an extra $100 on top of the order.
Yeah.
So she says, this is what I've been telling you.
She was waiting for that.
She was hot.
Ooh.
And you should have saw this man of means and this man
I think
of
he was
valor.
a doctor.
This man and you could see that the whole, like, his whole persona just deflated.
Yes, he turned a little boy. He was like,
let me call you back. I was like, but see that right there, man, me and my wife could not wait to get out of there to talk about them.
I'm like, this was years ago. I mean, we don't do that no more, but it was years ago. And we're like, we're strangers. You got us in your house. You yelling at each other like that. And she going off on him.
But
she's trying to tell him, you weren't listening to me.
Yes.
You weren't listening to me.
Yes. She was trying to tell him, like, she's looking me in my eye. You're supposed to be manning the machine, yes,
right.
Because she loading up. She loading up, this is what I was telling you.
This is what I was telling you.
And I was like, oh my God.
And then when we got back, and it was time for their party to be over. You looked at the machine, you were like, they tore this up. This was terrible. They didn't know what they were doing. And you helped them. You did extra. You were like, all right. And they're trying, and I still remember it. That gave us the best cake
Oh my God.
So they was trying to like, get the last 20 or 30 minutes or whatever. They was trying to get that out, giving some extra tips, giving cash. They were giving us the cake. It was a vegan chocolate cake. I'll never forget it. If anybody y'all know how to make an Indian vegan chocolate cake,
we down.
we
are down.
It was good.
I was sitting here like, ha 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 ha.
Like, this is vegan. You
it
sure?
was so good, and I was shocked.
Yeah.
That it was so tasty.
Yeah.
So whatever the heck they put in it,
diet. But
yes, and
he
that's
tried.
what
He tried to
yes.
get them couple of minutes in there. And anyway, that was a very normal reaction and normal relationship, normal marriage blow up.
It was just
it was a beautiful mermaid party.
It was so cute,
Mm-hmm.
and I think, and the reason why we brought that up, and I know this has very little to do with what we're talking about when it comes down to the actual interview, but I really need people to understand when it cut, because there's a lot of single women out there. There's a lot of single men out there who think they know what a relationship looks like,
right?
But they don't, because they have been watching through the lens of television. They've been watching through the lens of other people's fake relationships.
Right.
That's why I know when I can tell you, I can spot a fake relationship a mile away.
Right.
Because I've been in one for 20 plus years. I've seen blow-ups. I've packed the bag several times. Okay.
The real ones. You can sell the fake.
Yeah, we know, you know what I'm saying? I was talking to Wally P, and Erica was like, oh, he keeps a bag in the trunk. But the point is that we know
that was because he was going to the gym.
He was going to the gym.
And you too. You would have your bags.
Yes, but I know what you're talking about.
That was years ago.
I packed.
Not in that season no more.
And we're going through the emotions, and I'm tired of this. So we went through all that. And I'm saying this because I think it's very important for those of you who are not in a relationship or that's looking to get into a relationship. A lot of these picture perfect relationships are just that. Picture perfect.
Yeah, they're fake.
It is not real. So when we see something like that, and Vance comes out and say, I just look at that as weird. I agree with him.
Yeah.
Because I've been in freaking shouting matches with my wife. And it's like, that's just weird how he handled that situation. So yeah, I'm with Vance on this.
He acted weird, which he did, on a national stage in front of his wife and in front of millions of Americans who presumably were watching at home. And I think that it's projection, Dana. Look, I think this election should be about who's going to solve the inflation crisis, who's going to make groceries and housing more affordable, who's going to secure that southern border. Kamala Harris's record
is how he shut her right down.
Policies that made that problem worse, Dana. We're trying to say we're going to take the country in a different direction. I really think that it's important to point this out, Dana. Their entire campaign has not been about, here's our policy for how we're going to make your life better, or here's what's wrong with Donald Trump and JD Vance's policies. We're going to name call and hope that you don't notice that we don't have an agenda. That is the entire approach to this election.
They have done both. They have both policies, and they are trying to.
No, they have not. They have not. No,
at that time, they didn't.
No, they have not.
This was just recently. I saw a clip I was looking at news clipping, and many people, there's commentary saying that right before this debate the other day, Kamala Harris did not have anything on her website up until this week. Nothing was on her website referencing her agenda. And then I think a day or two before the debate, there was just some plastered information on her website, so that in case Trump mentioned it, then he wouldn't be able to have that in his back pocket, because she did have something up there. But the commentary is saying that she copy and pasted, somebody just basically copy and pasted much of Biden's administration, Biden's agenda, and they just pasted it onto her website. She did not have anything on her website at the time of this interview,
which we are going to be discussing tomorrow night on the live. We're going to be bringing that and more. So please stay tuned for that. We're excited to bring that content to you when it comes down to the proposal that Kamala Harris has for the American people for the next 4 years. But yes, I'm going to tell you, I I went through Tim Walz's history. I got videos based upon that, just trying to see, because I'm doing the research saying, all right, so I need to come into this thing as unbiased as I possibly can, because even though I don't really see myself voting for these two, that doesn't mean that they don't deserve at the very least my consideration. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And no, there was nothing for Kamala. Like, I was still sitting here say, Kamala, tell me what you want to do with the country.
Yes.
You know, you're too busy bringing up Project 25, but you don't have nothing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so bring up something that's going to combat that. Now she does have something.
Right.
All right, so that's a good thing. She finally has something. We're going to go through it tomorrow.
Finally.
Harris's campaign page right now, they still don't have a policy.
Well, let's talk about
policy
policy
positions
versus
about what they're going to do.
She's cutting him off, but he's saying no.
She's
Actually,
starting
she did not.
But that's what they do, right? They will not let you, because see that if she would have let him continue the fight, because see, this is how it works, right? You have to control the conversation with questions. Keep them on the defensive. Do the best you can to keep them on the defensive. You stay on the offense, you keep them on the defense. So when you get to a point where the person is trying to do that, and this is the reason why I think Vance is really good for that, because he said just enough to let her know and let her viewers know, that whoever was watching it, to let her viewers know, oh, you're cutting me off, right? So once I start doing that to you, wait, but you just cut me off like 15 times already. So, you know, I'm just letting you know that, but again, this is the type of individual who thinks that that's okay to do. So it's like, ugh, what can you do about it?
policies in this interview, but you have been on the campaign trail questioning Tim Walz's military record. You say it was shameful that Governor Walz retired from the military before his unit deployed to Iraq. I want to read you something that Joe Eustace, who is a veteran, he served with Governor Walz, said. He said that's a lie. He said he was as good a soldier as you'll find. I'm not trying to defend him. I hope people don't think that. What I'm trying to do is defend someone who served his country. I'm not voting for him.
Oh, stop. You went and got a person that clearly stated, I'm not voting for him. When you bring somebody up that is supposed to be vouching for Tim, say, I'm not voting for him. His whole family said we're not voting for him.
Oh, please. I'm going to tell you, when somebody family say something,
oh boy,
you need to listen.
Oh boy.
And I'm going to try what you usually do, because you go on the other side. So yeah, Tim Walz's family all stood up, and there's a couple of spokespeople for his family. Like, I didn't know, and I wasn't sure if I even wanted to respond or if I wanted to keep my family out of it, etc. But he's not the guy that you want in this seat, right? And then you have Trump's nephew, you know, belly aching and having these issues about, you know, what he did and how he was cut out of the will and all this kind of stuff. Where I look at these type of things, when someone puts in a specific person in the will and not someone else, or omits someone from a will, you got to look at that.
Yeah.
Now, why did they do that?
Now,
so that's my thing.
Now, a lot of people will argue the fact that Trump probably manipulated his brother out of taking the money, or manipulated his brother into giving him the power over the will and stuff like that. A lot of will argue that that might be true. And if it is, it is. But at the end of the day, Trump's nephew has a book out.
That's what I was
for sale.
That's what I was going to say. What's his motive? Come on.
Okay. So there's the rub. He can't sell that book without his uncle endorsing it, and this is a tactic that a lot of people use. If you want to know what is bad about, and he's going to make millions of dollars off that book from the left. I ain't buying it because I don't care. You know what I'm saying? I'm not buying it because I don't care. I know I'm not sitting here because I believe Trump did do that. I believe Trump did say what he said. what his
nephew
cousin
saying he
nephew,
said-
yeah, nephew is
Alleging
accusing
that
him
he
of.
said.
I believe he did.
Mhm.
Just look at Trump.
Right. I keep telling y'all he's like cousin Vinny. He gonna say what he feel.
He gonna come
and
out his mouth.
he's not gonna be politically correct and none of that. So maybe he did say it.
I think he did say it.
At the end of the day, though, my thing is the motive. Tim Walz's family, I think that's his brother, either the brother or the uncle. I think it might be the brother though. That said, and it was quoted, and he was like, he was trying to protect his family.
Mhm.
He actually didn't want to come up here and be put in the spotlight, you know. And I mean, truth be told, a lot of our family like, oh no, they want to disassociate themselves. I don't want nothing to do with that. Oh, y'all with Trump, that's on y'all. Don't you say nothing about, like, you know, a lot of them don't want to be involved. But the fact that he's like, I'm telling y'all, you don't want that kind of guy in there.
Right.
Come on, you got to listen to that.
Right. So this is what I'm getting at. Like, she's trying to dismiss or debunk or to discourage what Vance said about his stolen valor. But even with her own research,
Right.
she can't find one solitary person that is all gun ho for freaking Tim Walz. Like,
Right.
you can't find one out of the whole freaking military. You
Right.
can't find one. Come on now, like,
Right.
Like, you're making our argument for us.
They trying hard though.
Oh boy.
Him, but I don't think it's fair to characterize his service the way they have. Governor Walz served 24 years.
Sure.
He even stayed after he could have retired because of 9/11, more than the country asked of him. Do you honor his service?
Well, of course, Dana, I honor his service. And I've never criticized what Tim Walz did when he was in the military. I criticized his retirement decision. And most importantly, Dana, I criticized his lying about his own record. Okay.
That's it.
This is a guy who is
That right
captured on
there.
video saying, I carried a gun in war. He never went to war. This is a guy who's been captured on video. As other people say, he's an Afghanistan veteran. He's a veteran of a war, nodding along in agreement instead of saying, no, no, no. I did serve my country and I did it honorably, but I never went to a war zone. I'm not criticizing Tim Walz's service. I'm criticizing the fact that he lied about his service for political gain, Dana. Now, I served in the United States Marine Corps, and you know this. And look, there are a lot of things that I'm proud about. I've never lied about what I did or overstated it because it would be beneficial to me in an election. I think that's what Tim Walz did. That's what I was criticizing. And yes, I do think it's scandalous behavior.
You talked about one of the things that he said.
He didn't even respond to that.
Talking in a campaign stop about, he was trying to talk about gun control.
Sure.
And he said, weapons of war, I carried in war. I will say that the Harris-Walz campaign did say that the governor misspoke there.
Sure.
Do you accept that?
He misspoke. Another word is that he lied about it. And
Right.
correct the record for 15 years until he was put under political pressure because I called it out, Dana. Whatever you want to call it, a misspeaking or a lie, I think Tim Walz should have to correct the record. Now, you pointed out a soldier who defended his service. There have been a number of soldiers who served with Tim Walz who have criticized him on the exact same grounds that I have because it's not right to misstate or to embellish what you've done. And I think that's what he did.
And on the question of when he left the National Guard, he filed his election paperwork February 10th. That was a month before the National Guard even announced that it was possible that they would deploy to Iraq. And it ended up being 2 months. He retired 2 months before they actually got the paperwork.
But on CNN last night, Dana, one of the people who was actually in charge of him
Said on y'all show last night.
went to Iraq in February of 2004. So, or excuse me, fall of 2004. So he knew he
Now
was
that would
Excuse me.
that's a that would be considered a misspoke, yes.
used
Retire.
because whatever.
He
Like,
said,
yeah.
excuse me.
So wherever word you want to use, retire. And she immediately said retire because that's what he did. He retired.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? He retired. He has every right to retire. He can retire. But have you noticed that how he fixed his statement? And he was like, "Excuse me," and he fixed it. That right there is a misspoke.
Mhm.
What Tim Walz did was flat out lie about it.
Uh-huh.
Okay, he flat out lied about
He
it.
lied.
Okay, and you can sit here and play this word solid game all you want, but he flat out lied about it. Now, this is going to be okay for a lot of their voters because their voters are perfectly fine with this way of communication. Okay, they're okay with that because that's how they communicate. That's how they listen, man. Our country is heavily divided. because of what people want to do, mischief, malicious intent. You know, this. Oh no, like oh my God, it's just
Deceitful.
it's very deceitful, and here's the thing, the unknowing voter who is fully unaware of how these tactics work because they have not done the research, they haven't developed in that way. Because again, you have plenty of people out there who are not of the age of maturity, let me say that, to see past all this, because they don't have the wisdom. They have the head knowledge, but they don't have the wisdom to understand why this is such a big problem for a president. This is okay for a teacher,
Right?
this is okay for middle management, it's okay for that. It's not a big deal that he misspoke on this stuff. I'm using their words. It's not a big deal that he misspoke. But for the president of the United States, you don't want him misspeaking on anything.
Right. He would be the sitting president, the vice president. And if anything were to happen with the president, then he would step in. That's a problem.
That's a huge problem.
That's a problem.
This is why I have such a huge problem with Kamala
Yes.
and her constantly back and forth to million ways.
Yes.
Because as the seating president of the United States, I cannot trust your decision.
My goodness,
making.
it's like you can't hold this woman's feet to the fire.
For
you said
nothing.
She slimes out. She's slimy, and birds of a feather flock together because she got a slimy man running with her.
Dude, look. Okay, we're going to go we're attacking Russia. Let's say we're attacking Russia.
Let's say if that were the case.
Let's say we're going to fight because of this, that, and the third. Okay, cool. Why are we fighting them?
Right?
2 commercial break. Like
right.
Come on. What are we going to war for? What did he do? Why are we going after him? Because I don't want to create fights that don't need to be created.
Right. And then create the fight. And then by Tim Walls's record, and I could see if this was something that, because everybody's like, oh, well, that was years ago. He was in his 20s. Right. That was years ago when Kamala was a beginning attorney and right. But can you see that the behavior and the personality is the same?
Change.
It didn't change.
That's the same dang story.
That's the issue.
They did not change. They did not adjust. They did not evolve.
Right.
And that right there tells me that they're not worthy of the seat of power right now.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm not saying that they can't change overnight. People change overnight.
Things happen.
I've seen it. But that's not going to be enough time for me to vote for you.
Right.
That's
the issue. But we a few weeks out.
I'm sorry.
You've proven exactly who you are.
Like, now, it's great that you got something that we can look at now. It's wonderful, but it's too late.
Yeah.
I've already made my decision.
Like, come on. I've been waiting all of this time. Then you had the chance and you said what? Nah, I'm good.
And then on top of that, Tim Walz still has not retracted what he said.
Isn't that crazy? See, that right there.
Because he wanted to run for Congress. He lied about that. He said that when he decided to retire, he did not know that he was going to Iraq. That is another untruth, as even his senior military officer said. So again, I'm not criticizing the service.
Senior military
criticizing dishonesty. Dishonesty spoken in favor and for the purpose of political benefit. And I think that the most important thing here, Dana, is it goes to Kamala Harris's judgment. Tim Walz is ultimately going to be the vice president. Kamala Harris is in great health. I'm sure she's going to be president if she wins for 4 or maybe even 8 years. Why did Kamala Harris choose a person who has lied about their military service? I think that is a serious lapse in judgment. And I don't want to hear from a campaign spokesperson of Kamala Harris. I want to hear Kamala Harris herself address what I just said.
You know, I've seen a lot of statements from veterans, including those you served with, saying it's just untoward to be criticizing somebody who served for 20.
But you are dismissing what Vance said.
She didn't reply to that. She's going right back to the original statement, and he already answered that. He is not dismissing what he did do. He already answered that.
Yeah. See, this is the deception that works very well on the people who watch CNN. Okay, because she goes right back to her soundbite, completely dismissing and ignoring what he said. All right.
Yeah, she did.
And it's like, for me, I would say, so because
you
me
just hear
personally, I would say, Dana, your tactics are weak.
Yeah, you would say that.
Your
Too.
tactics are weak.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the American people deserve more than what you're bringing to this table.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now you completely ignored what I said about his senior officer.
Right.
His senior officer said, "Oh no, Walls was perfect." He knew they were going.
Right.
He knew. And he decided, well, I'm going to go and pursue my political career, which is his decision to do so. Nothing wrong with that.
Right.
You are 24 years in. You can retire. You can do whatever you want. Fine. However, at this point in time, you are leading people to think you're the type of man that will fight when you're not.
Because, honey, if he get over there in front of Putin, I'm telling you, I think he would make a bow face real quick and run for the hills.
Here's the thing. I think that, and this is the reason why I think Putin endorsed Kamala. I think that, first off, and let's talk about this, because I really want to talk about this. And I was going to bring this up tomorrow, but I'm going to bring it up right now. I think Putin wants Trump in office. Mm-hmm. I think Putin wants Trump in office because I don't think Putin really want to be fighting.
Right.
I don't think he wants to really be fighting.
Yeah.
I think Putin wants to make money. And he can't make money
with no Kamala.
With Kamala. Mm-hmm. He can't do it. So because right now he's expending a lot of money based on this war. He's exhausting a lot of his resources. Mm-hmm. And this is what I think. And I could be completely wrong because I don't know this stuff. I'm just going off of what I see. And I'm going off of what I think that will happen. Because why would you endorse Kamala at this crucial time? Right? Knowing America can't stand you. Why would you do that?
Right.
All right.
It's a reason.
It's a reason for that. So my thing is that maybe he does want Kamala to lose because I think in his own way, he can make a deal with Trump, bring this stuff because he's exhausting his resources right now.
Right.
They blew. Okay. I can't say that because I don't know, but his pipeline that was bringing him millions and millions of dollars is shut down. And now he has to buy oil at an exorbitant rate. So at this point, I think he wants to make a deal. He can't make it with Kamala because Kamala and her party seems to like war.
Right.
Because look at what they're doing. They're causing strife and destruction because it makes money.
Yes, war
for America, it makes money. And we know that we can't sell weapons when there's no war. So I have to make it warlike. It has to be destruction and corruption so I can get you to buy these weapons that you don't need. Well, let me tell you something. If you wanted me to buy weapons, you got it.
Right.
You got it. If that's what you wanted me to do, you got it. I'm about to be suited and booted, baby, because you've proven to me that I have to be suited and booted as an American.
I mean,
I have to,
from state to state, and that's why we're addressing these things because it's just happening in these certain states. Some New York, East Coast, happening in Colorado, and now in Springfield. Don't you think if these people keep it up, it will go from state to state? Now, there's some states that ain't having it. Texas and Oklahoma. There's a few states. Try it if you want to. I think there's enough. That's the concern.
I think there's enough red-blooded Americans in the blue states to put it into this.
I really hope so.
I do believe there's still enough red-blooded Americans that do this, but they're pigeon-toed, right? They're not.
Try that in West Virginia. It's just I hope so.
They don't have the what's the word? They don't have the backing of the state.
They
to
don't.
Do it.
They don't.
Right. And because of that, they're all right. So I got to get my family out of here and I got to leave. Yeah. So those red-blooded Americans are moving to places where they can defend their family.
That's right.
And they still have loved ones. I still have loved ones in New Jersey.
Yes, we do.
I cannot wait to get them out of there. If they want to go. I'm not saying they want to go. They may not want to go. But if they want to go, once I get established here, yeah, you can come down here. It's a lot of room. It's chill. You know, we don't have to worry about all that extra stuff, but we do see it happening here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Things are weird happening here. And I think that a lot of Americans, even whether you are blue or not, whether you for Kamala or not, you know one thing, that by the time the cops comes, it's too late.
Yeah.
All right. So a lot of women out there saying, I'm getting suited and booted too.
Yeah.
Even I might be okay. Yes, I'm voting for Kamala, but I know I need to have my piece on me just in case.
Yes.
All right. So I want people to understand that we have no problem with Tim's wall service. It's not that. It's the deception that I have a problem with.
There's an integrity issue.
There's an integrity
Not
issue
a problem
there.
with a liar.
And if there's an integrity issue there, I don't want you to be in the seat of power. Well, Trump has an integrity issue too. No, he don't. No, he don't. He has a lava of the mouth issue.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Okay, that's the issue he has. All right,
big difference.
Sometimes he speaks before he thinks. All right, because he's so used to going off the top of his dome.
Yes.
Dana, I'm not interested in the ad hominem. I've heard from a lot of veterans groups who criticize Tim Walz. The question is, he said he served in war and he didn't. That is a dishonesty. I couldn't care less what one or the other person says about it. I care about what the truth is. The truth is that Tim Walz didn't tell the truth. And importantly, Dana, this is about Kamala Harris's judgment. And I think that when you ask, why has Kamala Harris allowed the border to be wide open? Why has Kamala Harris supported policies that have promoted the increase in inflation? I think it goes to the heart of her judgment. And I think that that's what we should be talking about.
One last question. Donald Trump didn't serve in the military. He received a medical draft deferment for bone spurs to avoid serving in the Vietnam War, reportedly as a favor to his father. Do you find that shameful?
Oh my gosh. I find your question shameful.
I got out of PE because I had the sniffles. Okay. All right. I did not want to work. I did not want to be in PE because they was beating my ass. All right. I was all alone, all by myself. I was the new kid and I did not like going into the locker room. So what did I do? I found a reason to get out of PE.
Right.
Okay. Now let's talk about Trump, a person who the only thing he's ever wanted to do was be a businessman.
Right.
He didn't sign up for the National Guard. So why are we talking about his desire to not go to war?
Why? The issue here, see, she tried it. I mean, you talking about pulling at straws.
Yes.
Child, please. She tried it. At the end of the day, we're not talking about him. He wasn't in the military. We're talking about a man who was in the military.
Tim Walz was in the military. He literally went down to the place and said, "Hi, I want to serve my country."
Right. Try again.
But people, I think, fall for this. I really do believe people fall for this.
So too.
Yeah, right. Because he got out of it. Because you know why they fall for it? Because of all the talk about how political leaders, conveniently get their kids out of the spot of going to the army or in the war, right? They utilize certain things. When we was talking about George Bush the other day, and how he was able to, conveniently find a way to not get drafted and stuff like that. So why don't we talk about that? Why are we just talking about now all of a sudden it's beneficial to you? Right. Now you want to use this against Trump.
Talking about bone spurs, girl.
You know what I'm saying? And let's be honest. What if he did have bone spurs?
Right.
All right. There's people who wanted to go to sign up for the military, but they had allergies that didn't permit them to go in. They had cognitive issues that wouldn't permit them to go in.
Flat foot. They had different
flat
things.
feet. They have there's so many reasons why the military would reject you. And Trump conveniently said, "I got feet problems and bone spurts and stuff like that." They're
but
very
he's not
painful.
the one in question, and he's not the one that lied about it.
Versus somebody like Goggins, who not only went 3 times to become a Navy SEAL, who was like, "I'm going to get in no matter what."
Right.
Because you know what I'm saying? Like, come on,
Y'all ain't
man.
gonna tell me no.
There is a spirit of a man that has to do it.
Yeah.
All right. There's a spirit of a man that has to do it. Trump doesn't have that spirit.
Right.
Gary Lamb do not have that spirit.
I mean, come
All
on.
right.
He's volunteering this. This is something that he believes. I believe that Trump believes that he's supposed to be running for office. He's not even allowing them to pay him every month. I saw it on an interview.
Listen,
He's not taking the payment. He's paying and funding himself every month.
he uses his own plane.
His own plane.
his
But they keep
own
calling
resources.
him every month. Oh, okay. We just want to make sure you didn't use the money. Like, what do you mean? If he wanted to, he could.
Right. And
But
he'd be well in his right to do it.
his right to. They're not talking about that though. At the end of the day, he didn't sign up for the military. Try again. Ugh.
Donald Trump didn't serve in the military, but he didn't lie about it, Dana. I've known
Right.
Donald Trump for a long time. He
don't think
really
he-
honors our
so you
veterans.
think he had
honors me
bone
for my
spurs?
service.
Why are you?
Trump-
Who cares?
she's too
Oh my
much.
God. Do you
She's
think
too
he
much.
had bone spurs? If his doctor gave him a
Right.
note, he had bone spurs.
Oh my God. Ask his doctor. She's trying anything.
Okay.
Or I should say they, CNN, are trying
But
anything.
listen, you want to take this to HR? You want your okay? Well, in order for you to get your time off, you must produce a doctor's note. If it's good for HR, it's good for you, Dana.
Right.
All right.
Oh gosh.
He didn't say that he went to Vietnam when he didn't. This is the problem.
That's the That's the point.
Whether they served our country or not, I think it's honorable to serve, but obviously a lot of people have reasons for not serving. I criticize somebody for embellishing their record, for lying, saying, I went to war. Dana, do you think that it's a problem that he said, I went to war, but he didn't actually? That seems to be a problem to me.
Well, they've corrected that. Let's move on
They've
to.
corrected it by admitting that
Let's
he
move
lied.
on to another
But you
important
just
issue.
won't- oh my God. He won't let him talk about it as soon as
You
he
wrote the
answers.
foreword
Well, they
for
did.
a new book by Heritage Foundation President Kevin Roberts
Sure.
of Project 2025. Project 2025, among many other things, calls for rolling back approval of the abortion drug mifepristone. Donald Trump told me during the debate that he would not block the drug. And on Thursday, when he was asked, he didn't rule it out. So which is it?
Well, look, Dana, first of all, Project
Why don't you
2025
ask
is
him?
not affiliated with the Trump campaign. Kevin Roberts is a friend of mine, but I wouldn't say that he speaks for the president in the same way I wouldn't say that he
Vance on Trump's mixed signals on if he would ban abortion drugs.
They're terrible. Just shameless.
Mixed signals. Love it.
Too much.
And what Donald Trump has said is that he respects the Supreme Court's opinion on the mifepristone ruling.
But let me just stop you right there. The
Please.
Supreme Court, you're
He's
a lawyer,
answering
so
your
you know this better
question.
than I.
Sure.
The Supreme Court, all they did was say that what came to them didn't have standing. So they let it stand. A real question, a substantive question, hasn't made it to the Supreme Court. So my question for you is whether or not a Trump-Vance administration would allow mifepristone to continue to be
See
sent
how
around
she
the country.
changed it?
Well,
First she
President
said
Trump won the
Trump, then she
nomination of the
said
Republican
Trump
Party.
Vance.
Well, I mean, that's what they're going together,
Mhm.
right? So he is representing their party. at
He's
this point.
representing their party,
Yeah.
but she switched it. She keeps switching her words around.
Well, she's
First
trying
she
to get a
said,
specific.
well, Trump said it on Thursday, but then he said this. So what is Trump? What does he really feel? Why don't you ask him again?
Now, notice how when he started talking about the Supreme Court, she stops it
She stopped it. Well,
because that's credible.
yes,
All right, and
anything credible, she cut him
now
off.
she's going to stop. So now you have a credible seat of power here. The Supreme Court, the highest court in the land. And Vance is a lawyer, so this is the highest court in the land, telling Trump, here's what we think. So Trump is saying, you know what? I'm going to defer to them. Because, yeah, I was for it then, but after getting more intel
from the Supreme
I
Court,
have to see. This is the reason why I love Trump. Because Trump, he's not afraid to say he might not be right here.
But who in the left will say that?
Oh,
to the
boy.
dying end, honey.
We have a man that he said mixed signals. Look, Trump said, I'm for it. Then he heard what the Supreme Court has to say. And they're basically saying they don't really have enough information to actually rule on this right now.
Right.
So he's saying, okay, so let me pull back. Let's do some more research on this.
Some more research.
Because if they can't give me a solid answer.
And they're the Supreme Court.
I can't just go for this.
Mm-hmm.
So I love this is what I'm like, this is the type of leader you want. But here's the problem. We are so used to not seeing male leadership. We don't know how male leadership operates.
Oh my, that's good.
It seems like Trump is giving mixed signals. No, he's not. He's giving the best. He's giving you the best decision he can possibly give with the information that he has.
Mm-hmm. He revised his decision.
Okay, I got a car right now. This car is acting up. I think it's the alternator. Let me confirm that it's the alternator. Every man is going to understand this.
Mm-hmm.
Let me confirm that it's the alternator. And I'm talking about a car that is obviously gasoline powered. If for those of you who don't, it's a sad shame that you don't know. Anyway, for this car, to make sure that this is the alternator, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the car on. I'm going to disconnect the battery. If the car shuts off, I now know the alternator is faulty.
Mm-hmm.
If the car doesn't shut off, I now have to dig a little deeper. Do I have a weak battery? My battery might be weak, and that's why I didn't start up, or that's why whatever. I need to see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But but until I get the solid answer from a mechanic, I can only guesstimate why the car turned off.
Right.
Because I am not a professional mechanic. I just know how to diagnose certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So when I sit here and I say, all right, cool, I disconnect the battery, the car's still running. All right, cool, reconnect the battery, drive down the street, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden the car shut off.
Mm-hmm.
So I just checked the alternator. Okay, so it's something else. There might be a short somewhere. So now I have to take it to the mechanic, let them fully diagnose it so they can say, this is your problem.
Yes, because a mechanic is a specialist. That's their lane.
Right. But prior to taking it to the mechanic, I was blaming the alternator until I disconnected the battery. It didn't shut off, but when I drove down the road, it shut off. So maybe there's a faulty connection somewhere. I don't know. I'm not a mechanic.
And he went to consult the specialist.
He consulted the highest court in the land.
Yes, that's their lane.
About this. And now he's saying, I might have to pull back here because I don't really know. I am not here to tell you you can't use this drug. I'm here to make sure that if I sign off on it, I know what I'm talking about.
Right. He went for a second opinion.
He went for a second opinion. So this is the type of president you want.
That's the type of president you want.
You don't want a president that's going to say, mind your damn business. No, you're the president of the United States. You're supposed to be in everybody's business right now.
When we were growing up, they said, we used to say, my mind is my business.
Right.
What you mean? I need to know.
Right. I'm going to talk to Trump because, hey, you're my president. I want you to know about this, but don't tell nobody.
It's crazy.
Right. Don't tell nobody. And he's going to say, based off of the information that I gathered from the people, this is where we're going because of the people. Granted, I don't like the idea. I think it's foolish, but this is what the people want.
Right. And at the end of the day, that's one of the differentiation between Harris and Trump. Many people are saying that Trump is in totality, he's looking at the big picture for the betterment of the entire country.
Yep.
The benefit of the U.S. Also to foreign countries, all for the U.S. Harris is looking at a specific genre and group only. And I want the one that's going to do the best for the entire country,
not just for that one voter that's going to push her over the edge. See, this is the issue that I'm having with the whole thing about this candidacy is half the country is just not going to be happy. Just what it is. Half the country is not going to be happy. But I want to vote for the president that's going to at least listen to the unhappy crowd.
At least listen. I'm telling you,
nobody's
trying to hear everybody.
Listen, if Kamala gets in office, it's going to be the same damn thing it's always been. They're not listening to us
and don't care.
And they don't care what we got.
She laughed in these people's face on the debate. There are people who are okay. Let's say, and because I did research, and there is some crazy stuff going on with them animals in Springfield, Ohio. There absolutely are things happening, but let's just put that to the side and take that off the table. These people in Springfield, there's commentary, there's video footage of families all over in the area of Springfield that are saying, yes, they are dropping them off in droves. There's people that's coming on buses, they just dropping them off. And there is an influx of these migrants coming into their state, into their city. They're going through it. Even if we're not talking about the dog, cat thing and all of that bizarre, crazy stuff that's happening, there are people suffering in Ohio. There are people going through some things in this area. And that woman laughed in their face.
Yep.
She does not care.
No, it's not her. It's not her neck of the woods. Why would she care? They won't drop them off in their neck.
And that's what people are saying. Bring them over there to Hollywood. Bring them over there in them higher echelon. Let them go by the elites for. And then it happened.
Okay, if they go by the elites, they will be hemmed up within 5 minutes.
And that's what people are saying. They would, oh, not over here.
They will be hemmed up,
and they're dropping them off in some of the worst areas.
And the reason why they're going those areas is because you don't own nothing there.
Mm-hmm.
See, this is okay. So this is why, and again, this is a personal thing. If this is how you want to live your life, fine. But ownership brings authority. When you don't own anything, you have no authority.
Mm-hmm.
When you rent everything, you are at the mercy of the person you're renting from.
Yep.
Okay. They own the land, they own the car, they own the deed, they own a certificate. You don't own nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't own your labor, because a lot of people think they own their labor. No, you don't. You rented it out.
Rent your labor. Uh-huh.
You rented it out so you can have a car, so you can have a house that is not yours. Yeah, you have the option to pay it off soon. All right, well, I don't have to. Well, here's what you do. You buy the house, and I know a lot of people, I'm not trying to get into your economic whatever, but if you haven't noticed, there is a major financial shift every 8 years.
Yeah.
But you're hoping that you can get to the 30-year mark. And even if you're wise with your money, you can't stop the government for inflating it. So you have to be, you got to do what? You got to get rid of your money as fast as possible and get assets. But when you go and obtain that asset, you still don't own the land that asset's on.
Right.
So they can go and just say, well, I know you paid off your house and you have $100,000 of equity. We're going to give you $50,000, but you got to move and got to start all over with $50,000. And you're like, oh my God, what? So this is the thing that I'm saying. Like, we don't own any of this land. We technically don't own any of it. And because of that, they can drop whomever they want off to it in your neck of woods. It's not your neck of the woods.
Mm-hmm.
You might own that particular house, but you don't own the land around it.
Mm-hmm. All about the land.
All you own is the freaking bricks and the building and stuff like that. And even then you got to pay taxes on it because it's not on your land, it's on their land. So if they want to drop somebody off in your neck of the woods, they can do that because you don't own it. And that's what's going on here. So I thank God we got out of the city, man.
Yeah. And I again, it's so disheartening. I have empathy. What I'm saying for the people in these areas, because it's very blatant. I don't care what kind of plastered smile she puts on her face. Mm-hmm. That woman does not care. No. Those running with her do not care. They don't care.
And I think this is a sad place to be, because her voters don't care either.
Yeah.
They don't care either. Mm-hmm. They want what they want, and that's okay. They don't care. Mm-hmm. And
sad.
It's sad. It's sad.
Said it to you, and he said it repeatedly, that his goal is not to block mifepristone, it's to let states make the decision on abortion policy. Now,
that's what he said.
Nana, we have to be honest about this, that California might have less restrictive rules than Ohio, which might have less restrictive rules than Alabama. I think what President Trump is really trying to do on the abortion question is really admirable, and I wish the press was a little bit more honest about it. He's saying we've had a 50-year culture war over abortion, where unfortunately this issue has just divided the country, and he wants to provide some ground for us to come together, for states to make these decisions, for voters to make these decisions, and for us all to respect one another. That's all he's
on
proposed.
that issue. On that issue,
it's like he might as well said Minnie Mouse or something. She's not listening to him.
No, see. Okay, so this is the thing.
What he said was fair. Just moves on.
It was very fair, but here's the thing. They are on a time limit. So some of this makes sense why she's doing it.
Very little.
Yeah.
Just like the people in the debate, they just move right past. I'm not saying them. They just move right past Trump,
Hmm.
just like she's just moving right past Vance here. Okay, let's just move on.
Right.
Very dismissive.
And this is why I don't. This is why we have a platform, yes, to talk about this thing in depth, to give our opinion on it, because she's just here to interview. She's just here to she's doing her job.
Yeah, that's her job.
She's doing her job, and people are going to, because they don't. Again, the lawyer doesn't care whether you win or lose.
Many lawyers don't.
They don't care whether you win
or if you
lose, as long as I'm not losing the case.
Right.
Okay, they don't care. It's not about truth for a lot of lawyers. It's about getting the job done. So it's not about truth here. It's about getting the job done. What is my job? What is my duty? My duty is to hit Vance hard, make Vance stumble, make Vance make mistakes. And that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, she's just trying to do her job.
Yeah.
You've adopted as it is up to the states. I spoke to a woman named Kate Cox. She lives in Texas.
Sure.
She was 20 weeks pregnant. Her fetus was diagnosed with a disease called, it was a deadly genetic condition called trisomy 18. She said that carrying the pregnancy, she was told this by her doctors, to term, if the fetus even survived, would hurt her chances for having more.
Now, what is, she said 22 weeks?
Yeah, she was early in her pregnancy. I think she said 22 weeks.
22 weeks. So what term is that?
That's going into, you asking me. I don't remember. I think that's still in the first trimester and it's about to go into the second trimester.
Going into the trimester. Okay. But it has a heartbeat at this point.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
Yeah, she said fetus.
She and her husband desperately wanted. Why is not allowing her to end that pregnancy helpful or supportive of expanding families like you want it to be?
Well, first of all, Dana, my heart breaks for this woman. I don't know her personally. I've certainly heard the story, and our heart breaks for her. And we want people to have healthy, happy families. And it's extremely unfortunate that sometimes, medicine, the act of God, whatever happens, just doesn't work out. And what the president has said, I think, very clearly is that he is not trying to prevent women who have non-viable pregnancies from getting access to the medical care that they need.
But allowing the states to decide, a place like Texas, which has very strict laws now, doesn't allow Kate Cox to end a pregnancy that is fatal and could potentially hurt her ability to have more kids.
Well, do we know it's fatal?
Right.
Do we know it's a guaranteed fatal? See, this is the reason why it has to be in the state's hand. I know I think
that's what Trump is saying.
I know a lot of women don't want to hear this, but you're an emotional creature.
Yeah, we are.
You're extremely emotional.
That's how God created us.
Let's reverse it. Let's say that the husband wants this to be ended, right? And the husband say, "Hey, I don't want you having this baby because financially I can't handle a child with defects. It's going to cost too much."
And if the state is on that side and sides with that, then what? Then what? I would love to know.
They can't hear a word you're saying right now.
And I was saying, and if the states decide to quote unquote side with the man or the male vote, then what?
Oh, but here's the thing: they won't.
Opinion, not vote, but you know what I mean.
They wouldn't decide with the man. They would say, have that child. All right. Now, what we can do, as opposed to saying women don't have the right to do what they want with their bodies, what we can do as a state is figure out a way how we can help support women in these unique situations.
Right. And that was the point. These unique situations. We said it in another video, and I'm going to repeat it. What they're doing on the left is making the want to bring in these decisions and make it as though it's in totality and it's the grand majority that these situations are happening to all the women. When Harris talks about reproductive rights, first of all, she is not talking about you being able to try to have a baby only in vitro, all of these things. She's talking about the out for the women who want the option not to have that baby right now.
Mm.
That's what she's talking about.
Mm.
She's not talking about the women and the couples. First of all, let's start here. I do not believe that woman is talking about married couples,
No.
husband and wife.
No.
No, I do not believe that. I believe she's talking about majority of single women
Mhm.
who have a particular life that they want,
Mhm.
and this child does not fit into their life. That woman needs to have her rights. We're not going back. She's talking about we're not going back to the yesteryear. We're not going back to the kitchen. We're not going back to you telling us that we don't have the rights and the time frame that women did not even have the option to take birth control. That's what I believe that this woman is. She's not even an undercover feminist. She's very blatant. So for me, when it comes to these situations, and I love how Vance came out and said right out the gate, my heart goes out to these families. I heard about this situation. I'm so sorry that happened, etc. This is not to say that it doesn't happen. It does happen. These things, I remember when I first born child, they had the amniocentesis and they put the needle in your stomach and all this crazy stuff. And they ask you, well, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? What do you think? Would you want to go through with this pregnancy, etc.? In an area that we were living in, we did have the option, but for us, we were in our pro-life, so it was off the table. But at the end of the day, this is not the grand majority. This woman, Dana, is doing her job and bringing in these bizarre circumstances that some of these married couples are going through. And she brought it in, she specifically mentioned Texas, because yes, Texas does have stringent laws that prohibit these type of things. At the end of the day, my thinking about this, my belief system about this is that the left Harris Biden campaign are talking about single women with the right to have the out. She's not only really pushing these married couples who have these situations that happen. It's a very small percentage.
Yes.
It's a small percentage when a woman was assaulted and now she's facing the option to have this baby or not. Not that it doesn't happen. Yes, it happens. Yes, married couples want to have children,
But
and they're going through these situations and they have to come up with this decision. Yes, it happens, but that is a minimal percentage.
when you look at the amount of abortions that's happening
Gaslighting.
every single year,
Right.
these are not married
Come
couples
on.
having these abortions.
Get off it.
They're not married couples. These are one night stands. These are boyfriend and girlfriend breakups.
Right.
These are oopsies.
The ones that need the out.
These are heat of the moment, back seat of the car.
Oh, we
this
ain't
is
playing
what's
for that,
going
baby.
on. This is not. Listen, I sit here and I look at this all the time when it comes down to this abortion thing.
Yeah, you do.
You're not talking for married couples here.
No.
You're using married couples as a way to get in.
Yeah, they're using a married couple as a scapegoat. But when Kamala is talking about our rights and our reproductive rights, that woman is talking about single women.
Yes, the state don't have a right to say what you do with your body until it comes down to drugs. Until it comes down to selective service, until it comes down to all the other things that you have to, like, okay, I get the whole I don't want you to have your hand on my body thing. I get all that.
I do too.
I get that. You want to be able to make your decision when you want to make your decision, how you want to make your decision. I get that. And I'm not trying to dismiss that, because I don't want you telling me what I can do with my body.
Right.
I don't want you telling me what to do.
I don't want you telling me that my body has to go into service or my son's bodies have to go into service when we never intended for them to go into service.
Exactly. But nobody had a problem forcing people to get the jab. Nobody had a problem with that. Because
that's my body.
Well, wait. And this is the liberal talking point. You was not required to do that. You're right. Absolutely. You're right. I was not required to do that. But look at how you treated us when we didn't.
And what about the ones who didn't want to take that jab? The ones that didn't want to, they had to take it
If they
or
want to keep
lose their job.
Mhm.
And because they didn't take it, there were options because we are American citizens and you can't require us to. There are people that unfortunately, even some commentary on some of the videos that we've recently made, whose family members lost their lives
behind it. Yep.
behind that.
Yep.
So you're talking about your right to your body. It's all relative. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander. It is all relative. So what really is the motive? I do not believe Harris is talking about husband and wives, first of all.
No. Oh, well, they'll use that.
They're going to use it though. Nor married couples. I believe she's specifically going after that single woman vote to have the option, to have the out, whether she wants to have that baby right now or not. And I said it before. Yes, it is extreme. We are in some extreme times. Extreme times call for extreme measures. You don't want that state that you live in to tell you about your body? Move.
Go to a state that is okay with it. All right. And I think you have 50 states you can choose from. Well, why should I have to move? Because you do. Okay. You do. You're not going to make the people in that state bend to your individual will. Although a lot of people are trying to do that.
That's what they're trying to do.
Because they start off small, you know what I'm saying? They start off with a
said
flag.
this before, little by little.
You know what I'm saying? They start off with this, they start with that, and then and here's the thing: they know the procedure. They know the Marxism procedure. That's why when you see a lot of these Marxists, they see abortionist murder signs, they immediately tear them down because they know that's how it works. You start off little by little, and next thing you know, you start to build and build and build. So the very tactics that a Christian will use, the Marxist tactic that a Christian will use, they'll go out there and they'll shut down that Christian. But I want to say this before we continue. If I had to give up my job because I refused to get the vaccine, you should have to move out of the state because you want to get an abortion. Done.
But what President Trump has said is that we are going to let voters make these decisions. And again, Texas might have a view that President Trump disagrees with. They might have a view that President Trump agrees with, but you've got to let the voters make these decisions.
So you're comfortable with that law in Texas?
I'm not comfortable with anything, Dana, because I'm not passing judgment on what these laws should be.
Perfect
You
answer.
my own personal view. I campaigned against an Ohio referendum, but I think that we have to let voters decide. And when they speak their mind, you have to be respectful. Agree or disagree with whatever voters decide, they're going to make these decisions.
Welcome back to State of the Union. Here's more of my interview with GOP Vice Presidential nominee JD Vance.
John King is doing a project talking to voters all over swing states. He talked to Republican voters in the critical swing state, must win, I would say, swing state of Pennsylvania. Of
course.
One of them, Carol Carty, said she was almost a childless dog lady because she didn't happen to meet the right person until she was 40 years old. Another, Joan London, was offended that you don't think she has a stake in the future of the country because she doesn't have children. What do you say to key voters like that, Republican swing voters? Who are put off by your views?
Well, what I would say, Dana, is if you look at what I said in context, the Harris campaign has frankly lied about what I actually said. I'm pro-family. I want us to have more families. And obviously, sometimes it doesn't work out, sometimes for medical reasons, sometimes because you don't meet the right person. But the point is that our country has become anti-family in its public policy. Let me just give you an example of this. So after our second child was born, my wife and I, we have 3 little kids. After our second child was born, we get the baby home from the hospital. We get this ridiculous out-of-network medical bill that is financially shocking, and we're pretty well off. And that happened because we have ridiculous laws in this country that are anti-family. I've sponsored legislation to try to fix things like that so moms and dads don't get these surprise medical bills. I think it's important for us to be pro-family. That's all that I've ever said.
If you want to be pro-family, I want to, because you do criticize, as you just did, the Democratic Party for being anti-family.
I do.
You called out Kamala Harris and Pete Buttigieg in particular. Kamala Harris has 2 stepchildren. Pete Buttigieg and his husband have adopted twins. Do you recognize them as parents and more broadly as being part of families?
Well, of course I do, Dana. I mean, you know my life story. I was actually raised. I was raised, but Dana, I was.
He answered her.
One of the first people that I gave a hug to
Very
after
flippant.
my RNC convention speech was my stepmom, who's been an incredibly important person in my
So
life.
she's not childless.
My kids call her Mamaw. Of course, she's not childless, but
you
again,
called her that.
the criticism. I certainly did not call my own stepmother childless.
Kamala Harris.
I criticized Kamala Harris for being part of a set of ideas that exists in American leadership that is anti-family. I never, Dana, criticized people for not having kids. I criticize people for being anti-child. And I do think that Kamala Harris has made some bizarre statements. She has said things like, it's reasonable not to have children over climate change. I think it's the exact opposite message we should be sending to our young families. I want to expand the child tax credit. I want to stop those surprise medical bills. I want to make housing more affordable so that if you have a young family, you can actually afford to put them in a home. And I think that it is unfortunate that so much of our public leadership has become anti-family. One final point on this, Dana, if you go back to the COVID era, one thing that really frustrated me and motivated some of these comments is we were at a point where we were kicking kids out of school. We were masking 3-year-olds and putting the masks back on them, even as they were trying to rip them off at school. I think that if we had more people who took the right perspective and had a little bit more understanding of how little kids actually operate, we would not have made so many of those mistakes during COVID.
That's a whole other conversation because people didn't know.
It's relative.
Very relative.
As much because it was literally a novel virus.
But Danny, you asked me about okay. You've now asked me 3 questions about comments 3 years ago.
Let's go.
I wonder what Kamala Harris thinks about the fact that she supported policies that opened the American southern border. I wonder what Kamala Harris thinks about the fact that she lied to the American people about Joe Biden's middle facility for the office. You are interviewing me, Dana, because I respect the American people enough to sit down for an interview.
I appreciate that.
Kamala Harris has been the nominee for 3 weeks. She hasn't sat down for a real interview.
Believe me, we are asking. You're not going to get a disagreement.
But Dana, you've got me for 15 minutes or however long you have me. We should be talking about public policies that matter. How are we going to lower inflation? How are we going to reduce the cost of food and housing? How are we going to close down that southern border? We've talked so little about that. We've talked more about a sarcastic.
Just like the debate the other night.
I think we should talk about the issues that most Americans care about.
I only asked you one question about that. I asked you about policies,
not true. Now, this is okay. So, did you hear what she said? He said, "We're talking about policies, and we're talking about issues that affect individual women." Okay, this is why this is so irritating,
infuriating,
because you're talking about you're talking about a percentage of women who are not interested in anything else but what they do with their stuff,
with their body,
right?
Their parts.
Like, we're not talking about anything relevant to the whole country. You have, because let me tell you something, there's a lot of women that are pro-choice, that have a big problem with the border being open.
Yes, because they're single women, and as so far it looks like this is the exact issue that's going on. They're the target.
Yep.
So far, and this is the only ones, because what y'all think, especially not some CNN newscast, do you think they're going to tell you what's really going on?
Of course not.
There's so much more happening than what they're reporting. There's only been some reported, but the 3 top ones that have been reported, and there are about almost 12, I think, but there are 3 that are top ones. They were 2 were single women, and 1 was a mom of 5. They are targeting women.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, you might be going for Harris, but I'm trying to tell you, they don't care about what's happening to these women out here.
We've been saying this. Men have been saying this for decades. There's going to come a time where the country is too weak to protect you, and you will have to defend yourself.
Yep.
Okay. They notice that they never talk about the transgender problem in women's sports. They never mention that.
No.
That's only on the left. Only on the left that they don't mention this.
Right.
But there's a whole lot of women that's saying, "Hey, I don't want to go against a man.
Right. I don't care what you put on your head or what you did. I don't want to go
to the bathroom with a man. Hey,
I don't want to train all of these years and have to go against him."
Come on now. They don't talk about none of that. It's only talking about the women that can't say no to their twat. That's all they're talking about.
Boom.
That's the only woman they're talking about. They don't give a damn about any other woman out there. Okay, you brought up this unique, horrible, sad situation in Texas where this woman have to consider ending the life of her child that she wants. But you're not talking about the women that say, I kill my kids.
You're not talking about them.
You ain't bringing her up because that's the vast majority of women that want Kamala.
Just like the ones were talking about the debate on the other night, and they're like, oh no, we took the reports and it was talking about that crime is down. And Trump's like, yeah, but y'all didn't take the reports and the highest crime rates of the city. So how you just conveniently left that out?
You conveniently
left that out. And just like you're conveniently leaving out the rest of the country, and you're only highlighting this small genre of these women. Come on.
Yep. And again, Kamala, like I said last night, Kamala is focused on one voter. She's focused on that one voter that Trump can't get to.
Right. Which is why she could care less about the women that are going for a jog, that are getting abducted and taken out, that are being brutally assaulted before they're being taken out. She's not talking about the 12-year-old who, as far as I read in the comments and the commentary in the news clip, and a single mother who lost her 12-year-old daughter underneath a bridge, who was assaulted and taken out. She don't care about y'all.
Because Kamala and Tim Walz are gun owners. Don't forget that part.
They're fire. They have firearms,
and they have. I'm pretty sure they have a specific license that allow them to carry it everywhere they go. Of course,
are you kidding me?
And even then, they have Secret Service agents paid for by the American taxpayer. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you got all this protection. So you ain't got to worry about somebody coming up on you, Kamala. But that woman that just got off of work because she's trying to take care of her child.
Talk about it. Yeah. But y'all think she's for you.
Come on.
Yeah. Okay.
I was asking about the military record that you brought up. Nobody else did of Tim Walz. One last question. This is on policy.
That's a lot, boy.
Yeah. Donald Trump said this week that he feels strongly that the president should have at least a say when it comes to the Federal Reserve and how to handle interest rates. Do you agree that a president should direct the Federal Reserve on how to handle interest rates?
That's not
what she see. First of all, she contradicted her own comment.
Right in the like she said, she quoted Donald Trump.
How you gonna quote him and then change it?
She quoted the man and then said, do you think a president should be able to direct? He said at least a say.
That's all he said.
There's a difference between having a say in something and a direction of it. Okay. And this is that word solid crap that they always do. All right. Oh, Trump wants to direct a one-on-one. Let's see. I want to see what is the whatever. Yeah, whatever they put. Let's see what they put up here.
One, I absolutely agree with what he said.
Right now, the president doesn't have a say.
Well, the president has a say in the sense that the president appoints the Federal Reserve governors. But he's saying, to be clear, President Trump is saying, I think something that's really important and actually profound, which is that the political leadership of this country should have more say over the monetary policy of this country. I agree. That should fundamentally
I do too.
Decision.
Considering the country's in debt,
should have America's elected leaders having input about the most important decisions confronting our country.
That would be a huge change, just so people understand that.
It would be a huge change, but whether the country goes to war, what our interest rates are, these are important questions that American democracy should have important answers for. And I think all President Trump is saying is that, look, it's kind of weird that you have so many bureaucrats making so many important decisions. If the American people don't like our interest rate policy, they should elect somebody different to change that policy. Nothing should be above democratic debate in this country when it comes to the
nothing. Absolutely nothing. Everything should be up for debate because it affects all of us, which is why I have such a huge problem with censorship.
Yes,
I have a huge problem with that because you're shutting out the voices of the naysayers. You cannot shut out the voices of the naysayers. You can't because that person is going to eventually rise up in a negative way. You have to give people an option to be heard. Now, does that mean that naysayer is going to get their way? Chances are no. But at least you took that person into consideration.
Right, which is not what Harris is doing.
I heard, I can't remember where I heard this from, whether it was a TV show, a movie, or whatever, but I heard someone say, how I know I got a good deal is when both parties are not happy.
Right. Yeah, you did.
Because that means that if one, they're satisfied, but they're not happy. Like, I would have preferred a better deal, but I can work with this.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you know you got a really good deal. I can work with that. I can work with that. That's not what I want.
Mm-hmm.
I really want this, but I can work with that.
Right.
And that's why a lot of people and a lot of men, they don't like this whole 50-50 thing, because it's like, wait a minute, I'm the one that went out there and bust my ass and this, that, and the third, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but she gave up her youth. Okay. She can't get that back. All right. So you can't get mad at her for wanting what she feels is due to her. She can't get her youth back. So I get all that. So that's a very unsettling experience for both the man and the woman.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Because she loses her youth, you lose some money. You can replace the money. She can't replace her youth.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, you cannot shut off the naysayers. That's just a bad idea.
Running the United States.
Okay, one last question.
Please.
And I can't believe I have to ask you this, but I do, because Donald Trump has been attacking Kamala Harris's racial identity.
He has not been, but ask your question.
Well, he questioned her racial identity. He said a number of years ago, she happened to turn Black. Her father is Jamaican. Do you believe Kamala Harris is Black?
I believe that Kamala Harris is whatever she says she is.
Whatever she says she is.
Importantly, that President Trump is right that she's a chameleon. She pretends to be one thing in front of one audience. She pretends to be something in front of another audience.
Talk about it.
And she's not running a political campaign. She's running a movie. She only speaks to voters behind a teleprompter. Everything is scripted. She doesn't have her policy positions out there. She hasn't answered why she wanted to ban fracking, but now she doesn't. She wanted to fund police, but now she doesn't. She wanted to open the border, but now she doesn't. She should have to answer for why she presents a different set of policies to one audience and a different set of policies to another audience. And I think that's what President Trump is getting at. This is a fundamentally fake person. She's different depending on who she's in front of.
With respect, you changed your position on an important thing, which is Donald Trump.
Of course I did.
She didn't respond to what he said.
And I've explained to the American people what's different. People change their minds when the facts change. They should. But if you want to be the people's vice president or president, you should have to stand before an interviewer and say, this
Vance downplays past criticism with Trump.
Criticize Donald Trump. Since he asked the question, here are two things.
You didn't just criticize him. You said he could be America's Hitler.
Well, that's a criticism. And I didn't say that exactly, but set that to the side. What I said about Donald Trump and what I believed about Donald Trump, two things that really change. First of all, I didn't think Donald Trump would be a good president. He was a great president. Wages were rising. The world was more peaceful. Remember, when Donald Trump was running for president the first time, they said he would start World War III. He brought more peace to the world than any president of my lifetime. The second thing, Dana, is I believed, and I'm ashamed of it, I believed a lot of the media lies about Donald Trump.
Accountability, ownership.
I believe that he said things like, for example, the media said Donald Trump accused all Mexicans of being rapists and criminals. You actually look at what he said. He did not say that at all. And I think it's important when you see something, you change your mind. And that's all I've done. And my pitch to the American people would be, I imagine a lot of folks who are thinking about voting for Donald Trump in 2024, maybe they've bought in to the media lies about him. Think for yourself, look at what he actually said. And I think you'll find that he's one, a very engaging guy, but two, was a very good president.
Your final thoughts of this, LaToya Lamb?
I think that I agree with what Vance said. We can go on and on about how many of us, me included, I was like, Trump, what? I'm good. Right before 2020. And then during that year, my views changed because my life experience changed under Trump's leadership. So yeah, I was on the bandwagon like most, especially most African-American brown people, most minorities. I was like that. I don't want to mess with that man. I thought that he was a racist, bigot. I thought all of those things because that's what they told me. So I agree with Vance here. At the end of the day, think for yourself. I love when he said in the very beginning of this interview, he said that we are running against policies. Take what you feel about the person out of it. Look at the policies.
Yes.
What are they representing? What do they stand for? Anybody can change if they want to. And at the end of the day, just like on the live we recording PBD podcast, one of the gentlemen on the podcast said, yeah, in the beginning from 2016, et cetera, Trump was a certain way. I think that he's learned a lot over the last 8 years. I would concur. I agree. When you go through hell, it changes you.
Yes.
Trump has changed significantly. I think that he is the better candidate for the job. Look at it this way. Interview the candidates. If you had their resumes in front of you, who would you hire?
Oh, well, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I sure hope you enjoyed this section of the Gary Lamb Network, where we're talking about political figures going against the mainstream media. This is Gary Lamb signing off. Lady Lamb, you guys have a good one.